One of the hardest things to do is find direction. For instance, my hair right now is trying to decide which direction it's currently trying to grow, but also your guitar practice might be lacking a certain direction. So today we're going to talk about just some things you can do to kind of make practicing musical, make it fun, and maybe find your own structure and kind of pattern that you want to use. All right? So I'm going to be rocking out the Ernie Ball St. Vincent today, and I'm going to do this in the key of A. All right? Now again, the official key of 2020 is the key of D, the people's key is the key of G, but the key of A is what we're going to use today. And there's a reason for this. All right? So you're going to want to know how to play a major chord. Direction number 1, learn the A major chord. Open A, 2D, 2G, 2B, open E. Now the great thing about this shape in particular is you can play pretty much all the chords in this key in this shape. So a lot of this is what we're going to do is we're going to talk about chords, how they relate to scales, and how you can kind of incorporate them in a musical way where you're practicing your scales but you're not getting bored and it's doing something musical, right? So we start with this A chord, right? 2nd fret. We can move this same shape to the 7th fret, and that's going to be another major chord. This is a D chord, and then to the 9th fret, E, all right? Now you'll notice that I'm actually hitting the open A string, even though that note might not be in the chord, like a E major chord, for instance. The cool thing about the key of A is it kind of ties a lot of this together, right? You may have seen a D major bar chord look like this, where it's like 5A, and then 7, G, D, and B. Same with the E major, D to E. We're going to do it like this, D to E. If you want to get that open A string, that's cool. All right, so we have, this is the 1 chord in the key of A, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Okay, now the reason that we know that is we can go through the A major scale if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 1, the 4, and the 5 are going to be those major chords that we just did there, right? But this is an interesting way to kind of play them. Now again, this one shape, you can really play all the main chords in that key. There are 3 other chords in that key that you'll see a lot. B minor, C sharp minor, and F sharp minor. The great thing about this, and maybe something that kind of like opened my eyes when I first figured this out, was like, all right, we have that first chord, right? A. If you just tack a root note on there, that same fret, F sharp, now it's actually an F sharp minor 7 chord, which is representative of the 6 chord, right, in the key of A. You can play it as a bar chord like this. You can play it as a minor 7 chord like this, which is how I'm going to do it most of the time. But conceptually, I just want you to tack on the lowest note right there. Some people can play it with their thumb if they want. I'm not a renowned thumb player, so I play minor 7 chords like this. My middle finger's on the 2nd fret of the low E string, the root note, and then I just have the A shape with my ring finger. Now the same holds true, okay, so this is A to F sharp minor. The same holds true for the other spots here. Okay, so here's D, B minor, E, C sharp minor. So you can play all the major minor chords with pretty much the idea of this shape. And then now we can kind of start incorporating other things that you may want to do into this, all right? So what I really want to start doing is just making some kind of like lead thing, some kind of exploratory thing with these chords, right? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to use just information that we've just talked about and then start gleaning single notes from that. So what I mean by that is we have A major here, right? And remember how we went from the 7th fret to the 9th fret to get that D to E thing? Well, we can actually use the symmetry of this shape right here, since it's the same shape, and then make like a little mini scale out of it, all right? Since the 7th fret on the D, G, and B string are all notes in this key, so is the 9th fret, we can make this kind of like mini scale. Now this is going to be found inside bigger shapes, which we're going to get to in a few minutes, but for the time being, let's just work on these 6 notes and kind of make a little introductory scale to it. So what you can do is you can play like A major chord, slide in. All I'm doing is taking the A chord, then the D string, 7 to 9, there's a hammer on, to the G string, same thing. And since I really easily know where these notes are, I can maybe use a little bit of time to try to make it sound musical to kind of get to groove a little bit, right? Okay, so however you want to kind of jam on that, I think this is going to provide a little bit of structure because you are kind of practicing a little bit of a scale, but you're doing so within chords. It's going to make sense further down the line with songs. All right, now I want to take this and maybe kind of expand it into more of a full-blown scale approach because, again, something that, like, you know, you hear is like, all right, practice the minor scale, and then, all right, your F sharp minor, and then backwards, and it's like, all right, I'm just over it, right? There's nothing really musical about doing it that way. And again, a lot of people do a great job at that. You know, if you want to practice to a metronome or something like that and just shred scales, that's awesome. That just approach never really worked for me, so that's not something that I kind of incorporate with a lot of my stuff. But I think one cool thing to take from that is to take the highest 3 strings of that shape, okay? So now all these notes are going to be in the key of A major, so we can just say we're playing in the key of A. But I'm thinking of the F sharp minor scale shape. So if we just take the highest 3 strings, the G, B, and E string, we end up with this. 2-4 on the G string, 2-3-5 on the B string, 2-4-5 on the high E string, 2-4-2-3-5-2-4-5. In fact, those are just the notes of A major, right? But I'm seeing it as part of a shape, okay? The F. Some people will even equate this with like a minor pentatonic shape, right? But I want to start incorporating these notes into what I'm doing. Now I can do that on top of the A chord. So I'm adding that on top of it. But the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take actually 3 different shapes like this that you'll see from different maybe like modes or scale videos. So if you don't know a lot about the modes, I'll link you to another video series. Also, too, I'm running a promotion on my online course that I did with Justin about just kind of like learning the guitar fretboard and kind of seeing this with a lot of backing tracks and stuff too. So that's going to be half off for the next few days. Check that out if you haven't already. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to learn 3 shapes like this. Again, in the class we go over all the shapes, but I want to take just 3 shapes on the highest 3 strings, all right? So this is going to be what I'm considering the minor scale shape, but just the major scale notes from that, all right? Don't worry about the difference between minor and major. All this stuff is going to sound good in this key. And then I'm going to move down to A major's shape, if you've ever seen this one before. But again, we're just going to focus on the G, B, and E strings. So what I want to do, I want to take this forward and backwards through these 2 shapes, all right? So real quick, just to recap the A major scale shape. For on the G string, we have 4, 6, 7, B string, 5, 7, high E string, 4, 5, 7. My brain just froze for a second there. All right, so that's going to be that position. And then we can go back into... Now what I like to do is kind of take this, right? So let's take that first shape, then go 2 frets higher, and then go backwards through the other shape, right? So now we have these 2 kind of shapes you can go back and forth between, all right? So it's all about just kind of making hot spots out of these. So the first one we did, remember, was to always think of these notes, these 6 notes, in conjunction with this chord. The exact same thing is true with these notes, okay? Maybe just focus on a few of them at a time. Like, all right, I want to take this A, and I want to run it down into maybe just these 3 notes right here. 7, 5, 4. And then I can use those other things that I did too, right? Again, I'm adding a structure where I'm trying to keep it musical. I'm trying to add the chords to what we're doing and then start incorporating a few different notes, right? Now again, practicing to a drum track or something is also super helpful to keep yourself in time while you're doing that. But I think a lot of this is really just kind of, you know, promoting the exploration of something. I think there's something about practicing to a metronome that makes you feel like you're practicing. Or it's kind of like exploring different chords and chord progressions kind of has more of a, I don't know, an adventurous spirit to it that you could eventually kind of fold into more like super structured kind of metronome or drum track type deals, right? So we've got this one that we started with, the minor scale shape. And then we can run that into the major one. And then we can take an extension of, again, this 7 and 9 thing right here. We can do the same thing, but do it in a different symmetrical shape. Some people would see this as like the Dorian mode position, I guess, but it's a really easy one to remember. G string 7-9, B string 7-9-10, high E string 7-9-10. The great thing about this is if you take the highest two strings, it's just 7-7, 9-9, 10-10. So maybe that's what you take from this kind of A, D, E. You can start kind of combining those as double stops, where we take two notes and put them at the same time. You can kind of keep going back and forth through all the different shapes, but it's just finding a way to see the scale shapes and have it be less like a scale and kind of less boring, all right? Now, again, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to turn some of these chords into arpeggios, all right? We're just going to light up certain spots of the fretboard. So again, there's that A chord again. We can actually start by rooting on the A on the low E string, which is the 5th fret, all right? Now, if we take this, we've got my favorite major arpeggio here, which is just 5 to 7 to 9, like a slide, to the 7th fret on the A string, and then the 7th fret on the D string, right? Now again, arpeggio is just playing that chord, an A major chord, one note at a time, okay? And again, eventually you can kind of build up some cool speed and do cool things kind of through 2 octaves, right? So again, gotta do the double octave here. So we've got 5E, 7E to 9, back diagonal, right? That kind of move right there to get us to 7A. Then we do the same thing, starting on 7D, 9D, 11D, 9G, and end here, right? Which, again, maybe we just saw the 10th fret on the B string as part of that kind of run back through that scale shape, right? So this arpeggio can lead us into all these other things. All this stuff is connected, and the more that you start looking at it, the more the different connections will start to kind of solidify. And then you make your own connections based on what you like the sound of, as compared to, like, you know, maybe how like how a teacher has shown you or how somebody else has shown you. You want to find your own voice on a guitar, and I think having a structured practice really, really helps with that. Okay? So, one other thing that you can do is like, all right, well, I did this arpeggio, so I know that the 7th fret on the D string is an A, okay? And then I know this arpeggio shape. Again, 7, 9, 11, 9, G, 10, B, and then backwards. I can add that into whatever it is I'm doing, okay? Again, if I'm going from this A, cool thing about that D is there. A, G, E, back to. And again, now I'm kind of really practicing a little bit of everything, you know? Next best thing you can do is start to incorporate all the chords just by adding the minor chords into it, which all you have to do is either grab with your thumb, like we said before, the low E string on the same fret, and start making all these connections and finding ways to structure them and practice them together in a way that you find interesting. Because, you know, there's a lot of lessons out there about how to practice, the best way to practice. And really the answer that nobody really wants to hear but is true is like everybody has a practice routine that works for themselves. And I think thinking about these and being thoughtful about this is a way for you to make your own structured practice, to give yourself a direction to kind of make it through, you know, whether it's this quarantine or just whatever free time that you have, to really just kind of make something that is going to keep you interested in the instrument and not get bored, right? So use some of these tips. I do it in any key. Again, the distance between all this stuff works in any key. I just really like the key of A because you can have that open A string and open E string to another. So. And it's always going to kind of blend together pretty well, right? So definitely, thanks for checking it out. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, the website. Also check out that class. Link is in the description. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.